today we all received 3 emails. There were too many written testimonies to send them all in one email. There were a total of 265 written testimonies turned in with regards to Bill 101. 263 of them were in support of Bill 101. Only 2 were not. One of them was from a gentleman that I'm wondering, and I'll have to get back to him. I think there might have been a little confusion about whether or not the bill prohibits people from utilizing these products on their own private property. And the other one was from somebody who just seemed adamant that it was going to cost us intense amounts of money and whatnot. And the only other person that I've spoken to who had serious concerns, and also of that 265, 12 were doctors and 1 was a marine scientist of people who supported Bill 101. And the only other phone call I got from somebody who had concerns about Bill 101 actually runs his own chemical company. And when I looked it up later, there are 4 employees in the company and they make between $8 and $10 million a year. So while speaking to him, I had to kind of just say it was difficult to take his concerns because there was a financial benefit to his life and not necessarily taking into consideration the safety, health, and well-being of our communities. Yeah. So I just want to thank everybody again as we move through this process. I want to thank the members of this body who have expressed their support. And this is a journey, and we're all in it together. And I think it's time. So thank you. I yield.
David, could I call up David Yamamoto, our Public Works Director, please? Yeah, I mean, we don't have the Parks and Recreation people here, but I think they've already, stated either to me or to others that they're working towards going pesticide-free. So what's your take on this, David, from an operational standpoint? You got 4 years. You might not be here, 2024, but what would you do in furtherance? If this were passed, what would you do in furtherance of it? What would be the cost? What would be, some of the operational concerns?
Looking at this, we would, probably need the assistance of someone like Autumn to help give us some education in as far as the alternative means to maintain the roadways without the use of pesticide or herbicides. I was told that currently we have attempted to reduce our herbicide use, and they have reduced it by 50%, but they continue struggling with trying to keep the grass down on the side of the roads. And I guess herbicides is the more at current their go-to quick fix to get the grass down.
There's several reasons why I'm more comfortable with doing it from an operational standpoint. David already said he would hire a consultant to help us out. We have to adapt, of course. It's always a good thing.
As far as DPW, I say buy more weed eaters right now. Because I know a lot on our old Mamalahoa Highway, there's a lot of, we have guardrails, right? You can go with the big tractors, real easy, but hard for jump out of the truck with one weed eater just for whack that. But easier for spray 'em. I've seen that done. It'll take maybe 20 minutes of their time getting out to doing guardrail with a weed eater. Just got to work with the unions to make sure they're okay doing that. I'm just saying that there's things that we can already do. And I hate to use the word lazy, but sometimes we get so just convenient when it's just sitting in a truck, So I just, I'm not saying that all our guys are lazy, but what I'm saying is sometimes I see these things and I report it and then it gets taken care of. But we can do better. We can do better. I just want to say I'm in full support of this. I'm glad it's happening. We talk about global warming and climate change and all of that, and all of this is all ties in. So I'm glad we're moving in the right direction.
Deputy Messina, just wondering if Parks could weigh in on this bill.
You want me to talk about the bill itself, or are we talking about
How it's
beyond
impacting your
pesticides?
department, potentially, should it pass? And are you folks ready to implement?
Well, that would depend on the implementation date, what the date is for, yeah. So that
It's
would,
phased in implementation through 2024, I believe.
right. And we would like to see the final bill as well, after you guys make any amendments to it, before we can really comment on it right now. When and if the bill goes through, it would affect all of our park facilities, every single one, including, drag strip, 13 cemeteries that we have, the facilities around all of our senior centers, our community centers, everything. So
So it's a huge lift, a lot of kuleana, not just the responsibility of, I think, people that work at the county, but this is, I think, a time to strengthen our Friends of the Park or Friends of Community Center agreements, because I think we all need to make that shared commitment to do our part. So I like the idea of when you're at the ball field or soccer field, picking up weeds, when you go give grandma flowers at the cemetery, pull some weeds on your way out. So
And it would be,
I think there's a lot
and
we
the
can do
the public
together.
would have to understand too that the fields wouldn't look as pristine as they do. We would be counting on the baseball teams, the football teams, the teams to come out there and help us out. We already use Friends of the Park agreements. We've tried different things already. We've tried, the steam, the salt water. We burn the track up in, the Hamakua field, with propane to keep that away. We've used goats, and it worked out good. We're working on the contract right now to get that through. So we are trying a lot of different things, because a lot of the people in our department, they're coaches and their kids play on teams and stuff like that. So, but we just really want to reiterate that we will be asking for additional funding for manpower and equipment.
Sponsorship agreement, where are we on those rules? And I'm asking this question in an effort to help Ms. Villegas, because I asked that question about the composting center. Mr. Chung picked up on it, right? Because we need that. But if that sponsorship agreement is another tool to help us further, right, this band, where are we on that?
Good news. The sponsorship agreement came back from Corporation Council. We have it now. That's going to be our park rule number 17. And right now we're working with the county clerk's office to set up the public hearing for the sponsorship bill.
Thank you for that. Because if we want this to be a successful piece of legislation, we need to look at the tools that Maui used, but also the tools that we have in our tool belt, in addition to some of the tools that Maui didn't have or any other county didn't have, and learn those lessons, which is why I'm going to ask one more time, Ms. Villegas, there's some real good information from Big Island invasive species. You've heard from the other members of the council. There's a little bit more work. I think that would enhance this bill and actually springboard it forward in a manner that we're not going to have to revisit it during that 4-year phasing period. So I'm willing to support this. I hope we can move some of the tools that we have in.
I was on the council several years back when we discussed this, and we couldn't really make enough headway. But at that time we did, and I brought forth a measure to amend our budget, because the only line item we had for weed control actually just said Roundup. So we made that change to our operating budget, and that probably allows Mr. Yamamoto and others to purchase other alternatives and use other alternatives at this point. But I'm glad we did that, and I'm really happy to support what is here before us.
I think we're learning. This is the basics. We got to start somewhere. And I thank you, Ms. Villegas, for working very hard on this, because what I heard loud and clear today from people that were testifying is that I think it's our responsibility, and this applies to only things under our kuleana, our jurisdiction, and so we need to take that first step. Council members? All those in favor of approving Bill 101 and moving it forward to council with a positive recommendation and filing all related communications, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. We have 7 ayes and 2 excused. Thank you, Ms. Leloy. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Leloy, seconded by Ms. Villegas to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That, we have 7 ayes, Mr. Clerk, and we are adjourned. Mahalo, everybody, for your patience.